The Centennial Concert Hall is the home of the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, and for the last 12 years, the head of the household has been music director Alexander Mickelthwate. This weekend marks his final Classics series concert, entitled Farewell, Alexander. Ahead of that show, Maestro Mickelthwate has joined me in the Diamond Lane. Good afternoon.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you back at Classic 107. I mean, also former radio host.
Oh, yeah.
60 Minutes with the WSO.
Colleagues.
Yeah, no kidding.
Glad 5 years I was on the air.
Yeah, it's true. You were. And it was always a pleasure kind of getting that behind-the-scenes glimpse of what was going on with the WSO. So this weekend, the final Classic Series concert, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm elated, actually. So we had our first two rehearsals this morning and this afternoon, and man, Heldenleben, I mean, there's a whole program, of course, but Heldenleben is blowing the roof off always. It's unbelievable that somebody could think of that kind of music, so emotional, and oh my gosh.
It really is something. And I mean, when I was looking at the program, it's talk about a last hurrah. Like this is something else. So let's talk about Ein Heldenleben. Given that it is kind of this culmination of the tone poem genre, what can you tell us about this work?
Well, I mean, first of all, like in Germany, people wrote music like during the classical time and going into the romantic time, the symphonies, a symphonic form, was the way to write for an orchestra, right? You have like certain, like a first theme, a second theme, a certain structure to it, a Germanic structure, I guess. And then in the middle of the 19th century, Wagner was the bad boy. And he really disrupted everything. Starting with Liszt a little bit, but then tone poem, but then Wagner definitely. Man, I mean, harmony-wise, but just from the scope and how he perceived a piece of music. There were little, like very psychological, little motives that he, like an architect, put together in a very different way. And so then towards the end of the 19th century, yes, I mean, there was then Strauss coming onto the scene, Mahler. And around the 1860s, Strauss was born 1864, Mahler 1860. So, and they were heavily influenced, of course, by Wagner. Now, Strauss's dad was the principal horn in Munich at the Bavaria State Opera and forbid him to listen to Wagner.
He was on the Brahms camp, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So very, very conservative. Again, like there's a way how you write a symphony in Germany and everything else is crap.
It's funny, like Wagner would have come with his parental advisory kind of sticker on the label.
Oh, yeah. So, but then when Strauss was 16 years old, he heard his first, I think, Lohengrin or something, and the floodgates opened, and he was like hooked, like a drug. He was like, oh my gosh. So, and from that point on, he started to write in a very different way. And so he wrote, Heldenleben is the 8th tone poem, wrote it at the end of the 19th century, 1898, and in a fairly short period. And it's the longest of all of them, 45 minutes long, and man, so it really goes with many different ideas and themes. It's a little bit autobiographic, where he portrayed his own character, his own relationship to his wife, and then going a little bit into his life itself. And here, I guess, just a couple of signposts. It starts with this very, very famous theme in C major. Da ba da 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 di da, yum ba dee da 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 da, dum ba da. I mean, it's like everybody, I guess,
it'll
knows
get you
it
out
somehow.
Of your seat. Yeah.
Okay, and then at some point it slows down, and you have a beautiful, very soft with pizzicato accompaniment second idea, which was the companion, and so you have that going back and forth, and it's actually quite beautiful how he does that. And he had a successful marriage, and you can hear that.
You can hear the success.
You can hear the success. So a third into the piece, a quarter in, it stops, and you hear the ba 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 ba, like a very angular, angry music in the woodwinds. Nothing against the woodwinds, but this is how he put it. And he writes music of his enemies, and he had plenty of enemies, again, because at that time there were two camps, the Brahmsians, who were the traditionalists, and the rambunctious revolutionaries like him and Wagner, who went into a new direction. So yes, he was, of course, heavily criticized. And that music is written in the woodwinds. and then from there it kind of develops into a certain new direction. And what does one do as a human being, a composer? How do you deal with this heavy criticism? And he puts this into music. Mm-hmm. And suddenly you hear the trumpets. And anyway, so the whole thing goes into a very, very dramatic development section where you feel, man, he hammers it out. All the themes are coming, and it's like the roof is being blown off the concert hall.
I feel like this is one of those works that is a joy to conduct. Like, I mean, you can feel your energy here in the studio, but to take it up onto the stage and to, I guess, command orchestral forces like that, it's got to be an adrenaline rush.
It is. You're kind of all standing there. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing it. And also because the orchestra is so big.
Yeah.
It is not your regular Beethoven or Brahms orchestra. No. We have like 8 horns. We have 6 trumpets. And I mean, triple winds. So it is packed up there. 2 harps. Of course, lots of solos. Our concertmaster has solo lines. So yes.
I think what's also really neat about that is that it is one of those works that it truly resonates with you if you're in the audience. You can feel it in a very visceral sort of way, which makes it, I think, even more this kind of massive Gesamtkunstwerk kind of idea, right, where it is all-encompassing and you can really embody it as a
Well, and
listener.
I believe this is actually Wagner's doing. I mean, some of you might not like Wagner. I don't know from the listeners, but I love Wagner. We did Tristan, second act last season. And he was able to move emotionally like those long stretches and get to like a level up and one more up and one more up. And Strauss is doing that. So he gets like emotionally everybody like to a frenzy. And the nice thing now is that well, I won't give it away, I guess, but it ends in a certain way, very, very beautiful and very resolved, and that's just what I really liked.
So Ein Heldenleben, a hero's life. I mean, it truly is a beautiful piece of music, but there's other music that is also on the program. I mean, you're obviously very passionate about late German Romantic, but I know you're also passionate about new music as well. What can you tell us about the Habibi?
So, yes. So, as you all know, since 12 years, we did 12 new music festivals. Very exciting. And I can't believe, actually, that we are allowed to do this here in Winnipeg. And this is unheard of. It's like 7-8 nights of contemporary living composers. And literally, I was allowed to do anything. So, it's awesome. Really awesome.
And this year was just, again, sorry to go sidetrack, was something else. I was in the house when the concert hall was packed and just looking around, it was such a unique moment, and I was just like, oh, I'm so happy to be here and
really
taking
historic.
this in. And there's Philip Glass. I mean, there he goes.
Yeah.
So it was something else.
So, and I strongly believe in this case now that to foster Canadian young composers, there are so many, of course, out there. And there are such diverse also Canadian composers. And so in this case, Iman Habibi is a wonderful young gentleman who was performed by the Canadian Opera Company with the Vancouver Symphony, a whole bunch of different groups. And the piece we are going to perform, The Promised Hand, was premiered by the Vancouver Symphony 2-3 years ago. And is a really actually beautiful opener, I think, not too long, 5-6 minutes. And he wrote it for his wife, like looking back to his wedding day. And it depicts like a day and I'm not sure if this actually was the wedding day, but kind of goes through certain moments of his day with his wife. And there's something very outgoing, and then he says, then there's a stretch like where you sit with a candle and you just talk and have dinner. And so it switches quite abrupt to different styles and characters. It's kind of not like movie music, but it is very visual music, and you can imagine things. Which is very nice, I think.
Well, I'm excited because he's going to be here in the Classic 107 studio on Friday, actually, so I'll have the chance to chat with him. And what's really neat there is you mentioned Strauss and his relationship with his wife, and then this music, his relationship with his wife, and then there's this last composer by the name of Dmitri Shostakovich that you guys are going to be performing.
So, yes, and I've never done that one. Actually,
you haven't done the violin concerto?
Never done the violin concerto, and I asked, the orchestra hasn't done for a really long time.
Oh, wow.
The Shostakovich violin concerto is like the ultimate, I think, of serious difficult violin concerto, big differences between, it's like 4 movements. Actually, 3 and then a long a cadenza.
Yeah, the extended cadenza.
And, 4 movements and then the cadenza. So, and it starts, with this nocturne, where it's like, whoa.
It's a little dark.
It's a long, beautiful, dark Russian soul that is coming out there and flowing along at the beginning. Second movement, oh my goodness. It's the first time actually today that we rehearsed something without the soloist. So and I picked a certain stretch because it's really, really hard of that second movement. It's scared so. In 3, it
flies.
Man, it flies.
It's rather demonic too, isn't it?
Exactly. So he himself said actually the first movement is kind of this nocturne and the second movement is a demonic ride of musical whatever inventiveness.
Yeah.
So the third movement is quite interesting. It's a Passacaglia. It's based on this dum bum bum bum. On this, it's like a repetitive. I'm not sure, like 20-something bars. A certain harmonic also development that always repeats itself.
Right.
And then the violin has all sorts of variations about it. Really, really, actually creative, I must say. And then it's a difficult cadenza, and then the last movement. So
over the course of your tenure as music director with the WSO, you've collaborated with some pretty renowned violinists like James Ennis and Tianhua Yang and Itzhak Perlman. Bomsori Kim is coming to town, who may not be the best known name, but she's really been turning heads. Have you worked together before?
No, I never worked with her. She's also one of those that is on our list since like 8 years or something. It's like always, and then something else comes up. So we finally have Bomsori Kim here.
And I think what's really interesting about this work is, like you said, it's a very dark piece of music. It's very ominous, and it was denounced by the Soviet authorities, and yet it's a little bit of an audience favorite, I guess. Well, what do you think makes it so enjoyed by audience members?
Well, first of all, yes, it was written 46, 47, right after the Second World War, and at that time, like, Shostakovich had to watch for his life.
Yeah, the Zhdanov decree and all of that came with it.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I would not like to have been at him at that time. Then Stalin died, and things got a little easier in 1955. David Oistrakh, for whom it was written, premiered it, and it was a big success. I think they are just, besides the darkness, they are part in the second movement, for example. He is able to break out and almost write a folk tune or something.
Yeah.
And I think those ones that stick, and they're really fun, and like something that you don't forget. And that's, I think, why it is really like an audience favorite.
Well, I think to me this is one of those concerts that you're not going to forget. I mean, it is your last at the Centennial Concert Hall. Well, hopefully not your last at the Centennial Concert Hall.
I still have 2 summer weeks.
And that's just it. There's the summer festivals that have a very different sort of vibe to them. And talk about a wonderful time to just get outside and enjoy the weather here in town. Maestro Mickelthwate, thanks so much for being here this afternoon.
That's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Oh, as always, a pleasure. Music director of the WSO, Alexander Mickelthwate, in the Diamond Lane, chatting about the upcoming show, Farewell, Alexander. You've got 2 chances to see Maestro Mickelthwate leading the WSO for the last time. Again, not the last time. In the Centennial Concert Hall, I suppose. Friday and Saturday, 8 p.m. For more information, visit WSO.ca or classic107.com.